Get started in a minute. As soon as Marion, my partner in crime, gets here, we will get started. Hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am pleasantly surprised.
At the market?
Yeah,
Race car. Yep.
I am
Oh,
glad that we were all in agreement this morning that the market needed to pause and slow down.
yeah. And it decided it didn't want to. Although we did say the internals and externals were all still very bullish. So I guess the market took that as a need to go.
Yeah, if you're trying to interpret what's going on right now, you're definitely driving yourself batty. The bottom line is uh, market's going higher.
So
And
price action.
any thought to the contrary right now, unless it's some very stock specific stuff, you're very frustrated if you're continuing to try and pick a spot where the market's turning around. And interestingly, we had mentioned this morning that um, it's probably better trading right now to be in day trading mode and to eliminate one side of the market and just only look for entries in that direction. And especially in the first hour today, there were we were like going giddy this morning at how many opportunities there were that were to get long this morning. That first half hour to 45 minutes was just awesome.
Yeah, it definitely was.
So I guess obviously market continues to rally. Green for a positive recap here. I almost put flames in here to show the market was on fire, but
You held back.
yeah, exactly. So I guess to give everybody a little bit of context, first we should show everybody where to get the stuff every day. So if you go to Trading Education Blogs every day, you can either catch it here on the homepage, or you can click over to blogs to find all of the stuff in detail, both the news and all the upgrades and downgrades and all the good work that Marion does, and a little bit more stock related, stock specific stuff on mine. So a combination of these two, it's like peanut butter and jelly. Plenty of good stuff there. So visit the blog every morning, usually up no later than 8. So this is essentially what we were looking at coming into the day, and why we kind of started out with the comment about um, looking like we're going to pull back for at least another day. Some of the larger cap stocks, which are the larger boxes here, got selling with volume, as well as the SPY did. If I'm not mistaken, 140 million shares, 131 million shares last Friday, and a pretty decent reverse. And I could say that a lot of it was at the end of the day to close as weak as it did. But for the most part on Friday, selling with volume, and they had every reason in the world, with the market being up and kind of in these nosebleed seats. And maybe you can actually see that a little better on a weekly chart, Marion. So if you don't mind, I'll put that one up there.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably a better idea.
So that's the last 5 weeks. And obviously, that's today, but 5 week run really strong. And this is kind of what we were discussing this morning. It's like if you're looking to get long right now, and we're talking about from a market perspective, what's the reward potential for the amount of risk you have to take? There's a lot of overhead resistance here that we haven't been able to get through for the entire 2015. I mean, we're not just talking about short-term resistance. We're talking about the year.
Right, right,
So that's
exactly.
what's kind of making it a little less conviction. But a kind of a neutral opening today gave us, up to that 210 level. And we just kind of just trended higher the whole day. It wasn't kind of like a momentum move other than like this hour here, but certainly no reason at all to be short, especially the market. But a couple of stocks we were looking at short this morning, but I don't know. I don't know the percentage, Marion, but I would say 95% of the stocks we were looking at between the open and noon were long.
Yeah, I think they were, and everything that worked out for me was actually long. I could not find a short that worked out well.
Yeah, yeah. I called a couple of them out, but just nothing was following through. The retail, again, they're just going back and forth every other day.
Right.
The financials, which we could touch on for a minute, just Goldman staying above the open for most of the day after it looked like we failed on the breakout and pulled back. So if you're struggling right now, or if you're finding the market's a little bit hard to read, I'll flat out tell you, it is hard to read. you
Yeah.
know, we're not going up for 5 days and pulling back for a day and a half. It's pretty much day trading mode. You can put on a longer term thesis when you go into the morning and have like a concept and whatnot, but just trading around yesterday's high and low, today's opening price, and that kind of stuff it's working out well, because even the stocks that were stronger that we were leaning on for a while. They're not leading like they were. Like Nike clearly was one of the strong guys, except for Google. I don't know if you saw what Google did today.
Yeah, no,
Holy mackerel, look at that.
Google, I wasn't in Google, but I was in Baidu. We called that out early.
Yep, the whole day.
Beautiful move.
Yep. And again, just to give everybody an idea of where some of the scans are coming from, a lot of the longer term pictures, they're kind of looking like this. I mean, some of them are overbought and at or near resistance, but we're just getting a turn here where the 20 is now starting to put up, and you're really running scans. I don't know if you find the same thing as I am, Mary. It's really the most profitable ones are my shorter term scans that are obvious, like the last 3 to 5 days, that kind of stuff.
Right, exactly.
And this one certainly fits in that category.
Yep.
So let me just do a review on what we had coming into the day. So you can see pretty clearly SPY selling on higher volume, which was last Friday, shows the reward potential at least for one day, meaning Friday, that the market needs to pause after a solid 5-week move higher, and didn't. No other way to put it. I think you had even mentioned this morning how many different levels of resistance there were in when you look at the put call coming into the weekend.
Right. I mean, every dollar, sometimes 50 cents up, you're finding resistance. It plowed through it today, up to the Spiders 210 and higher. It got to 210.62.
Amazing, amazing. So this kind of, we spend a lot of time saying like setups that don't happen sometimes or don't follow through or just as significant. And even though we kind of felt that the longs with great risk reward weren't there, short setups, especially in what I might call my market stocks, there wasn't any. I think there was 3 or 4 of the entire market.
Right.
Financials neutral. We just went over the false breakout in Goldman Sachs a couple of days. Not holding yet. And China stocks worth a look. So Marion had just mentioned the Baidu, and I guess we could take a look at a few of those guys there. We have Baidu obviously getting another push there. Baba, we know 85 has been the level, and we just got, and actually this line here was drawn months ago. Just to give you an idea, we were in this trading range here for a while, and that was the top of the range, and then we just perfectly came back and tested that level again within 10 cents. And Sina has actually been on a pretty decent run for the last 4 weeks since the last week of September as well. So if you're leaving one side of the market out of the equation, only looking for longs, there's plenty of opportunity. The interesting thing, one of the biggest problems that people in the live trading room are having with us is we're calling out too many good ideas and like, which ones do I take? So if you're in the room with us, definitely have it filtered out towards which volatility you would like to trade, which average true range you like to trade, that kind of stuff. So that,
and the price of the stock. I think some people, they kind of shy away from it. I don't blame them. The things like the Google are really expensive.
Yep,
high price stocks.
Exactly. So I think a good lesson though is you should know that before the market opens. So regardless of what we call out, you should be able to be like, okay, I'm going to trade stocks between, I'll just use numbers 20 and 60. And if, no matter what we call out, you pull it up. If it fits your criteria, you can take a look. If it doesn't, just be completely okay with letting it go.
Right, exactly. Or taking less share size. Let's say it's a $75. Pete called out Medtronic this morning, which had a beautiful run.
Really clean, multiple entries. And I think this one was the best here where we had this 20-minute consolidation. Just a really, really clean move for just about $1.
So if 75 is a little rich for you, maybe instead of taking 500 shares, only take 300 shares of it.
Yep, exactly.
Something like that.
Exactly. And we had quite a few trades that looked like this today, Marion, where they were a significant level for let's call it the summertime, and just peeking their heads through. Right. And really just some clean moves through these areas, and really nice trend days for a day that we didn't expect. Well, actually, I shouldn't say we didn't expect anything. We made it clear to let the market come to us this morning, and boy, it was certainly worth it. It was within 15 minutes we started to get setups today.
Right. And we found there were quite a few ESRX. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones we were in. Apple gave us a nice trade.
Yep, you had a good call on that, over 120. You're harping on that easily for the 10 minutes in pre-market, and we all said, look, we saw it had a down day yesterday. On Friday, it doesn't really matter. 120 is the level. We know 120 to 125 is the next level. You have your side, you have your levels, and once it gets above that level, you have to trust it. And look, within the first 20 minutes of the day, we got above 120. It was just really a question: are you timing it on the 5-minute, or are you timing it on the 10-minute to find a good spot to enter? If you don't mind, Marion, I'd like to just discuss briefly what we had covered in LVS this morning and how that could help.
Oh, right. That's actually a great one, because that was actually a great trade.
So we had to give everybody a setup. We had noticed that quite a few of these stocks. Um, I guess you can term it bad news, but it was technically less bad news than last time. So in other words, if something went, which I guess is being perceived as positive, where let's say it was, on a scale of 1 to 10, the news was a 10 bad. Today the news was 6.5, so it was perceived less bad. So we actually finally broke out of this resistance level that we've been watching for a while. But here's really the point. The point is, obviously, we've got a clean entry here on the 10, and I already know for a fact there was some more on the 5. But this is actually what I want to talk about. We had quite a few questions today about forecasting profit targets when a stock clears resistance, and there's a lot of room to go. So let's just say, for argument's sake, we could look at this and trade it now between 50 and 57 as the next level. Now, even if you're day trading, you can continue to trade it long one day, long one day, long one day up there, or you can swing trade it up there. But for the sake of today's conversation, how do you forecast a profit target when it's clearly off the chart? And it's a phenomenal question. It's a really phenomenal question. And the way that we'd spent a pretty decent amount of time talking about it today is to use the average true range as what the stock normally does. So you can see here on the bottom here, whether you use 10, whether you use 15, it doesn't, or 14, it doesn't matter. It's as long as whatever you're using is consistent. So we happen to be watching this LVS today, and it was trading pretty hard. And you can see in the lower corner here, $1.94. So let's just call it $2 is the average true range. So at this point here, we're looking at, let's just call it 49.70. It's a little bit above that. So let's say 49.75. So $2 on top of that would be 51.75. And sure enough, we started to get topping tails right into that level. So as we were heading up in this area here, we said, all right, we got one topping tail. Let's see what happens. We end up getting another inside candle. So we're like, all right, not yet, but you might want to trail a stop up here. We're starting to see some indecision. Actually pushed up within 10 cents of the average true range from the low to the high at this point. And then we got this big, nasty reversal topping tail. And we said it, it's on tape. Not calling it after the fact. A lot of witnesses. When this happens, even if you're not bailing out on a trade, and again, the market was trading well at that particular time, grinding higher. When a stock reaches its average true range, that's what it typically does. Now, Marion, you had pointed out, I think this day here, it did $8. That's, it's kind of like a black swan. It's not what normally happens. You want to always trade for what normally happens. And about $2 was this, and lo and behold, it reversed well over $1. That's real money. It's real money. If you got 1,000 shares, that's $1,000 pullback that you're not getting hurt in or being angry about giving money back, because you recognize the ATR is around $2, already traveled just about $2. Intraday signals or alerts, I guess you could say, it's saying, nope, not yet. If we were going to go up higher, we'd be closing like this, and we didn't. So I think that was a really cool lesson live today, to work trade management during a trade live. That was what was really cool about it to me.
Right. I think that's easier to understand when it's live.
100%. It's so easy to look at something late at 9:30 at night and be like, oh, I see what you should have did. No. When you're talking about when it's unfolding, you don't know if it's bad data, that kind of thing. Live unfolding, it's a much, much better learning experience. So great lesson there. But more importantly, we had a lot of stocks that looked just like this that were breaking out. Honeywell was another one that I was stalking today. Didn't quite happen until the end of the day, but you could see the trade there. We're essentially looking from this trading range around 103 to 106, still playing itself out. Boeing was another one trading right around the same levels on the daily chart, has not quite pushed through there. 3M did get the push through today that we were looking for. I know we're jumping over to Lockheed Martin as well. Still kind of consolidating there, almost 2 inside days in a row, so not quite yet there. Tesla setting up beautifully as a short sale today, and of course trades in completely the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. We couldn't really identify support, so it was kind of like if it breaks down, it could move a lot because the support's not really that obvious. Or you could say, all right, this is like the second or third time we're holding this 203, 205 level. I still think it's a sell short. I think anything at this point, look, I'm not going to say you're guessing, but the last 5 weeks of price action is certainly pointing down. Doesn't mean you can't day trade it. It's just not on the longer time frames.
Exactly. I think you can still day trade it.
Netflix, we've been watching. We keep watching these same levels. Thought once it got over 105 on Friday, and interesting also, Friday was actually a strong close relative to the market closing week. So this gave you every reason in the world to believe that we're going to retest this 114.50, 115 level, and we just didn't. So it's a really important lesson that you have your game plan. You go into the day. You say, "This is what I'm looking at. If it unfolds and I get continuation patterns in the direction I want to trade," which in this case was relative strength compared to a weak market on Friday, clear room to go up to 115. All systems to go to have a good trend day. And you can see here, we barely trade above the opening price the entire day. So really not that much to do there. And I guess this we can maybe end it on this, Marion. If you have stocks you want to be long coming into the day, and you have a bunch of stocks that are trading here above the open, above the previous day's high, versus a stock like this, and again, not Netflix, but price action wise, that's trading below the open, not above the previous day's high. This means intraday, we don't have anything new to push it up here. Choose the ones that are up here first. Go to the ones that are relative strength, and don't get stuck down here in a one that today doesn't have follow through.
Exactly.
And you got to work for that.
You're going to spend all your time and your money, your attention on that when everything else is going to pass you by. So get the money where you can get it.
Exactly. And you got to, we were joking around a little bit this morning about work the keyboard, but it's the truth. You have to cycle through your list and see which ones are showing the most relative strength, relative weakness. If they're trading in sync with the market, great. If not, then drop down to the sector and see if there's other stocks in the sector doing the same thing. That'll give you a little bit more higher conviction than you might if it's just a stock by itself. But obviously, if that plus the market's on the same side, you can be a little bit more aggressive. But a couple of really good examples about taking profits when literally you're off the charts, and then which stocks to choose, even if you want to be long the stock. If you got 3 or 4 different stocks, which ones have the better probabilities? And I also think something that's really exciting that we're starting to see in the room, Marion, is traders really starting to understand it's not about being right or wrong on each trade, but it's about putting a trade on that makes sense and then managing it and being okay if it doesn't make money, if it's the right trade. I'm excited to see a lot of people are really understanding that.
Yeah, and then you can get out. You can get back in again. Nothing says you can't get back in.
Exactly. Always better to get back into cash, get your head back on straight, and look
Right.
at it from a fresh perspective. So that to me is, well, first of all, we're getting some really, really good calls from people in the room. And
Yeah,
definitely give a shout out to Joan and James, man. Both of them are calling some really solid ideas out lately. And then
Paula
trading
had
them.
the Google.
Right, exactly. So it's exciting. We've got a really good community in there, a good solid foundation. When everybody's going back and forth helping each other, it creates a great environment to make money. So I'm pretty psyched. So I think that's what I got for today. I mean, obviously you have to be looking, I hate to say it, but you have to be looking long for tomorrow. I don't see any reason not to, unless we open up into some really, really significant resistance, right?
Yeah, unless we have some insane news that comes out, and who knows? Anything's possible. But I would definitely say, yep, I would.
I would almost say a lower opening tomorrow is a better buying opportunity because it increases the spread between this resistance level and where we might open. So if we open lower tomorrow, let's say around yesterday's low or something around there, that gives us some more room from here to up to what this resistance level is. So lower opening, not the worst thing in the world tomorrow, and then filter it out from where it is from the open, where it is from yesterday's high or low. If the market tips over, make sure you have a list of stocks to short tomorrow too.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about that. Also, you got to be concerned about ATR, the average to range of a stock. If we gap open, a lot of your price action is already gone.
Yep. Yeah. Well, actually, that's a good way to finish. We had, I think James had asked, if the stock gaps, what do you do? And it's really, there's 2 numbers. You run the ATR as a profit target right out of the gate, which includes the gap. So let's say it's $2 and the stock closed at 118 yesterday. If it goes from 118 to 120, which includes, let's say, a 65-cent gap higher, that's going to be your first target. Now you have to readjust to see if there's still buying in there. If you get flags near the highs, which we saw in a lot of stocks today, then maybe you can use today's low and then forecast it out even more. I think it was CVX, if I'm not mistaken, Marion, that was actually $1 past its ATR at one point today, and actually went much, much further than that. Right. $2.26 is the ATR. 90.50 to 95.25, so it doubled its ATR today. So this year was $1 past its ATR, so it can definitely happen. But look, the bottom line is you have to trade for what happens most of the time, and for what you just said, Marion, you can always re-enter. just getting out of a good trade and booking a profit doesn't mean game over. Stick with it. If you get another entry, get long again.
Exactly.
And that's it. Some great lessons today and some really good call outs by members of the community. It's exciting to see.
Yeah, it really is.
And have a great night. No late night Met game tonight, so I'll be going to bed
I'm
early.
sorry.
I know. It's wherever. I think we have a Facebook morning this today. Everybody who's a Met fan. All right. Thank you, Marion. Have a great night.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.